Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Esha Saxena, founder and director, the Conflux Rivista. And on the behalf of my whole team, I welcome you all to this exclusive conversation with Mr. Viraj Kalra. The Conflux Rivista is a youth-led team aiming to explore different youth opinions through stories, music, webinars, and other forms of art. Keeping in line the same, we have previously organized numerous panel discussions, webinars, and open mic sessions on our platform. Speaking about DCR Youth Fest 2021, we have an open mic session and about 15 panels in which we have invited people from all the walks of life. In this particular panel, it's a pleasure to have you with us, sir.
Pleasure is all mine.
I would like to introduce our panelist, Mr. Kalra, to you all. Mr. Kalra is recognized as one of the top soft and behavioral skills trainer, speaker, and leadership coaches from India. He is popular with his participants for his brand of storytelling and passionately delivered speeches. Mr. Kalra has 20 plus years of experience in leadership roles in industries like consulting, L&D, education, media, PR, and retail with popular brands. As a trainer, speaker, and coach, Mr. Kalra engages with his clients and participants through his four-quadrant model titled New Age Leadership that covers modules such as personal speaking, uh, storytelling, reliance, emotional intelligence, intuitiveness, influence, and culture. Also, he engages on development initiatives with faculty, management, and students of prominent universities and institutions. As a strategist, he and his team partner clients on projects such as employer branding, innovation capability, revenue strategy, change management, transformation, excellence, and leadership alignment. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you so much, Kashish. Once again, we welcome you, sir. So, I would like to start this conversation with the very basics of how to start an organization. So, what is the importance of the reason behind starting an organization? Basically, can you speak about the importance of why you do what you do rather than what you do in an organization?
Very, very good question, Isha. And before that, Kashish, thank you so much for that introduction. Very well articulated. Thank you so much. And Isha, coming to your first question. I'm a big fan of what Simon Sinek talks about, right? And he talks about starting with the why. And I keep saying that whatever transformation, change, impact you want to have on the world, you need to start with articulating why that particular change or transformation is required. And that why better be appealing to your stakeholders, to your target audiences. And so I know that all of you young millennials and Gen Z are all very, very highly motivated with not what you do, but why you do it. While it seems to my generation something which is not very, let's say, very often heard of, but even in my generation, you have some people like me who first decided to do something because they truly are passionate about it, and that's when they went about doing it. So I think that's what the construct of any modern day organization should be. So I keep saying that one motive can be commerce, one motive can be transaction, one motive can be business, but then the other motive, which actually should be the core motive, should be about the difference you want to make in the world, should be about what makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work, should be about saying my work does not even feel like work. So I think all books like Ikigai or concepts like Ikigai or even people like Elon Musk, the reason why they thrive and there are so many people who want to align with them and work with them is because they do what they do because they're passionate about it. So again, why did I start the two companies that I'm a co-founder of? One is called Open Brackets, the other one is called White Ladder. Because as a coach and a trainer, I believe that what took me 20 years to do, many other people can do it in 5 years. Honestly, today, I believe that the journey of becoming a successful top 10 coach and a trainer, rather than taking the 20 years that it took me, if you have the right guidance, you can do it in one-fourth the time. So if you ask me why do I do what I do and why did I start these two companies, it's with the sole purpose that if I can do it, anyone can, and whoever wants to, we want to be there to partner them in being able to achieve that dream of theirs. Coaching and training being just one part of it, but you could be a startup entrepreneur, you could be a socialpreneur, you could be a passionpreneur, and so long as you know that you want to create a meaningful venture around your why, we would like to be there to help you, live that why, to be able to take that why to the world. That's why we do what we do.
Indeed, sir. And what you do is really, really inspirational. So there are very different aspects of how an individual can be passionate about certain form of business. For example, customer relationship or the clientele. So how do you suggest finding that passion?
Yeah, interesting question, Isha, and not a very easy one to answer. I don't think that there is one linear, organic, binary answer here. But I'll tell you what worked for me and see if that can become the way it works for you. So often a time in my training and coaching programs, I say that there are two kinds of people in the world, right? One of the kind who set their alarm for 5 a.m. Now, see, alarm is artificial intelligence. It will ring at 5 a.m. It will not say, Aaj mood nahi hai. So today I wouldn't. It will ring at 5 a.m. Now, you, on the other hand, are emotional intelligence. So, your mind at 5 a.m. will say, today I can afford to wake up a little later. So you'll snooze it, right? 5:10 a.m. you'll snooze it again, 5:20 snooze, 5:30 snooze, 5:40 snooze. So essentially, you will keep snoozing it, and then there will come a time when you know that your phone will run out of battery, so you might as well wake up. So you wake up, and while you're still sitting in bed, if the first thought that occurs to you is late jump, yeah, late jump. Yeah. Should I go back to sleep again, or should I go late wherever I'm supposed to go? Then what you're waking up for is work. Yeah. So work is what you don't want to wake up for. Work is what you would snooze again and again for. Work is what you do because you have no choice but to do it. Yeah. On the other hand, I think there are some people, and that's a lower average, lower percentage of people, much lower average in percentage of people who, you know, again, example, I've had a lot of opportunity to work with the Indian cricket team. And there's one person I saw repeatedly, day after day, irrespective of, whether India wins or loses, irrespective of whether he scores a century, a double century, or a duck. And back in those days when I, had the opportunity to work with them firsthand, he was constantly injured. But come what may, his alarm would ring at 5 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. he would be at the nets and practicing, you know. So irrespective of whether it was raining outside, whether it was snowing outside, whatever the temperature outside was, 5:30 a.m. sharp, he would be out there and practicing. And I mean, of course, I'm talking about Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar. I believe Virat Kohli has a very similar work ethic as well. Although I haven't seen Virat in action, but I've seen Sachin in action. And I'm pretty certain that when Sachin's alarm rings at 5 a.m., he's not sitting up in bed and saying, late jao, yeah, late jao. Chances are that he's saying, bring on the day, let's get it started. Because he's not working, he's playing. And I don't actually mean that he's playing as in playing cricket. I mean, when your work feels like play is when magic happens. So the best way to know if you found your why or not is to ask yourself that whatever I do, am I so excited about it that I can't sleep? Forget about, am I so bored that I can't wake up? So if your work does not feel like work at all, but feels like play, then you found your why. But if you still haven't found that feeling, then keep looking. That means you still haven't found your why. So that's the best way to figure it out.
Exactly, sir. It is all about passion.
How is good marketing beneficial for the organizations which are on stepping stones of success, and how can they achieve it?
Hey, Kashish, again, a very good question. I think it was about 15 years ago when I wrote an article. I make myself sound very old, but yeah, it was about 15 years ago when I wrote an article called Good Product plus Good Marketing is equal to Successful Brand. I think the brands that don't find success, they don't find success because either they don't have a good product or they don't have good marketing. But as long as you can do a combination of the two, you're bound to succeed. And I think in today's day and age, particularly when marketing has become so easy, then if you don't market, you will not succeed. There was a time, let's say about 35, 40 years ago, when all you probably would do is do some formality marketing because you could probably be launching a completely new product category and word of mouth would carry you through. Or, there's just so little competition and so little clutter 35, 40 years ago that the very fact that you started something, somebody is bound to notice it. But today, I think that's not the case. Today, in order to get noticed, you really have to put yourself out there because there are people who are putting themselves out there without a product. They're only marketing. So if you have a good product to take out there or a good service to take out there, it could even be your own personal brand. You could want to be maybe an influencer. You could maybe want to be be a blogger or a vlogger, any of those. Even for that purpose, just look at it. No, on social media today, if I was to type the word blogger, it would probably get me about a 40 million hits, right? So how do you then stand out? So you've got to market yourself. So if you're a good product, then even more confidently, people will believe that you're a good product if you first believe in yourself. One of the best ways of letting the world know that you believe in yourself is that you're putting your own money where your mouth is, which means marketing, right? So why marketing? That's why marketing. What can marketing do for you today and how can you go about doing it? Well, it's all about social media. No, that's where your target audiences are. I come from a background of PR and communication, right? Now, even till 10 years ago, if you were to ask a brand of phone or a brand of coffee that, when you're launching a new model or when you're launching a new product, where will you launch it and how will you launch it? They would do a press conference. And a press conference to a hotel, they will call senior journalists. And the senior journalists in front of them, a panel of, CEO, vice president, big people from the company would sit and there would be a formal unveiling. So if it's a coffee, it'll come out on a turntable with smoke and fire and light, and it'll turn, and then you'll say, "We launched a new coffee. What does this coffee do?" Well, it's a great coffee. It has everything. Which is a good effect of caffeine and no bad effects. I'm just kidding, whatever it is. But point is that that's how launches of products and brands were done till about 10 years ago. I think yesterday on LinkedIn, somebody published 5 tips of mine for what marketers should do in 2021. I said this year you will see a lot of new brand launches happening, not at a press conference, but on a LinkedIn Live, on a Facebook Live, on an Instagram Live. Because where is your audience? Your audience is not reading newspapers and magazines anymore. So what's the point of calling journalists to a fancy five-star hotel? First, it's COVID. Nobody's going to come. Even once COVID is gone, even once all of us are vaccinated, nobody is walking into a five-star hotel as a journalist anymore, writing something in a newspaper, which 5 people will read and then go and buy a coffee. Today, like coffee is instant, today marketing has to be that much more instant. You have to directly talk to the customer, and that's what social media enables for you. So I say that you will see that this year for advertising agencies, for PR agencies, and for brands, a lot of the budget which was being saved for newspapers and magazines, all of it is going to get channeled into social media. So that's Isha. I hope that my long answer, you haven't lost me. But to kind of bring it back into a nutshell, I'll say 2 things. Your first part of the question was why do marketing at all? So the first answer to that question is that if you're a good product, then you might as well market because otherwise, how will you stand out of the clutter? Your second question was where to market, and I think today, where is social media? Now you have to decide whether your audience is much younger, and that's why you'll go to Snapchat and Instagram, or your audience is slightly more mature, and that's why you maybe want to go to Facebook and some other mediums, or you're reaching out to the enterprise business decision maker who could be older or could have mature taste, and that's why you may want to go to LinkedIn and Twitter. But it's all about being on social media.
Social media, it is totally a boon in this marketing era. So talking about the marketing function, so if I ask you, sir, to look at the marketing function and how it has evolved over the years and the kind of prominence it used to have or it has, do you think that marketing function has progressed or regressed within an organization?
It has evolved. And so, because it has evolved, I think it has progressed, it has not regressed. Has its key result area changed? Has its core value changed? Yes, it has. But will there come a time when there'll be no marketing department? No, there'll never be a time. There'll always be a marketing department. What will be expected out of that marketing department has changed a lot. So, which essentially means that number one, the big change is that the average age of a marketing head of a Fortune 500 company, when you say the 500 top companies in the world, and you have to climb through the ladder and become the marketing head or the brand head or the marketing communication head of a company like that. Let's say, for example, Toyota, or for that example, PepsiCo. Uh, till about 10 years ago, the marketing heads of these companies would definitely have been on the other side of 40, minimum. But the biggest thing that has happened is that today across the world, majority of the marketing campaigns are talking to a much younger audience. Not just in India. Across the world, in countries like in countries within Europe, I understand that the youth population is not rising so much, but the elderly population is rising that much more. But even the elderly, the mediums through which they're consuming content has become much younger. So there was a time when I had to buy a crate of Pepsi. I had no choice but to walk into a 7-Eleven, or if I'm staying overseas, or into the equivalent of a mom and pop store in whichever neighborhood that I stay in. Today I'm ordering it on Amazon. I'm not walking into a retail store anymore. So that model of interface by itself is much younger. So you need much younger people making decisions on what that communication, messaging, campaign, personality of that campaign needs to be like. And so you would see a lot of the older traditional companies, which till 10 years ago had marketing heads in their 40s, suddenly, in this decade have marketing heads in their 30s, which means that you could be a 20-year-old just finishing your MBA or just finishing your internship at the age of 20. And that in the next 10 years, you could be the marketing head of a big Fortune 500 company. So I think that's number one, what has changed. By the time you get there, you're not already jaded, out of energy, out of ideas. You get there much sooner, so you get to do things much sooner. And that's what's happening to the marketing departments across the world, that you're getting people who are the consumer themselves who are also taking call on marketing. It literally has become by the people for the people, which was not the case maybe till about 10 years ago, right? So that's why you see much more peppier, fresher, more exciting, more engaging campaigns today than ever before, because the people who are making strategy on these campaigns are people who understand technology, who understand the new mediums, and are catering to that. So I think that's the one big difference which has happened to marketing departments, Kashish.
That was very well explained, sir. So trust is the most important in business and in brand management, especially in relationships with customers, clients, and employees and stakeholders. How can the founders or the people who are a part of a new organization assure that the clients or the people that the startup or the organization can offer a trusting environment?
So yeah, trust is always been and will always continue to be one of the maybe three most important things that a brand should be able to do. Now, from whatever I can see of, whatever I understand of, let's say, the people who would be consuming what you are putting out here on this platform, I'd see that there are a lot of people who want to be startups, who want to be young startups. And you'd have great ideas, you'd want to put it out there, you'd like to create your own brands. A lot of you would want to become entrepreneurs. And do you have a marketing brain? Yes. Do you have a good product? Yes. So, like I said, good product, good marketing, you're out there. But often a time, good marketing is considered only as putting your credit card out there on buying social media time or social media advertising and saying, okay, I got so many likes, or I got so many new followers, or I got my account I started only last month and look at it now, I've got 10,000 plus followers already. But I think good marketing also means your ability to create credibility, your ability to stand out, not just because of the marketing money, but stand out because of the reputation. Now, in very early stages, how do you get those credentials? How do you get that reputation? And that's where I think the word called testimonial comes in. For example, for the platform that you've created, which is so worthy, which is very exciting. I'm glad that you're doing this, because I think a little while ago the speaker before me was saying that in our time, while we were in school and college, we didn't have platforms like these. But today, not only have you created it, but there are people who are going to consume this content. Maybe not live right now, but when you put it out there on social media, there'll be many others who will benefit from it, right? Now, in the midst of all of that, if you got five people who turn around and say, on your social media, in your comments, or in actually a written testimonial on your LinkedIn, that this was fantastic. This changed my life. It helped me, answer some very pertinent questions about journalism or very pertinent questions about making a career in brand and marketing. So that one testimonial is plenty more marketing than what $1 million can do for you. So credibility today means that you can buy credibility, right? You can say, I'm the number one, I'm the number 10. There are many rankings out there in every category which you can buy and call yourself top 10. But what you cannot buy is a happy customer. So if a happy customer comes back and gives you a testimonial, it's one of the best ways of creating trust, creating credibility. So if you're asking me, how do you build trust? I say, number one, build happy customers. Be very honest, very transparent, very authentic in what you put out there. Because otherwise I'll get called out. Today, calling out something which is not authentic or not great quality is very easy. All I have to do is write a few lines, press enter, and it's all over the world. Right? So be authentic, be transparent, be honest to what you do. Create happy customers. If you create 5 happy customers, today those 5 happy customers will help you go viral. Even virality of a social media post, for example, most algorithms, whether it is Facebook or it is Instagram, most algorithms today for virality of a social media post consider how many times it is getting forwarded as one of the biggest criteria. Now, who will forward for you? Your biggest fans, your biggest super fans. Who are your biggest fans and super fans? People who've consumed what you're putting out there, they've loved it, and that's why they're forwarding it. So for me, trust today boils down to that. Your ability to create super fans, and super fans will come in when you there for them, which is at the right cost, which is at the right quality, and which is done, like I said, authentically. I think authenticity is going to become the big one in this decade for both people and brands.
Thank you so much, sir. They were very informative key lines. So, every startup organization of youth today strives to create opportunities with the help of their high potential employees to do better for themselves, as in turn it multiplies and as dividend for the enterprise's performance. So, how can an organization which is a startup attract high potential employees?
Yeah, it's always a challenge. It's not easy. But again, I'll continue on the same path that I started on with my previous question. And I'll also introduce you to research conducted in 2019 by the Forbes panel. They reached out to, I think, close to about 500 business schools and engineering schools across the world. And they asked these undergrad and postgraduate students one question. The question was, who is one business slash corporate leader that you most look up to? Yeah. And basis that, they came up with a list of top 10. In this top 10, the most obvious names that you can think of were all there. So, you had people like Jack Ma, you had people like um, Narayan Murthy, you had people like Steve Jobs. So top 10 names that'll come to your mind of business leaders, they were all there. Any idea who was at number one? Top three, let's say, any idea who were at top three? Wild guess, whatever names come to mind.
Elon Musk.
Beautiful. Yeah, so Prerna says, was Ratan Tata on the list? Unfortunately, Prerna, and again, I think it boils down to marketing. A lot of people know Jaguar, a lot of people would know Range Rover, but unfortunately, a lot of people still don't know that it is owned by Tatas now. And Ratan Tata keeps it very, very subtle. He should be on the list, but on the global list, unfortunately, he still does not occur because most people still don't know him on the global list. On the other hand, the name that Esha took is a name that's at number one. Elon Musk tops the list globally for being a leader that is inspirational for students who are doing the undergrad and postgrad at the moment. Forbes, when they conducted the same survey year before that, the top of the list was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is at number two now. Yeah. So although he's gone, but he still continues to rank amongst the top 10 leaders who, people consider inspirational. So Elon Musk is at number one. And then they go on and talk about why is Elon Musk at number one? And what you realize is that a lot of youngsters like your own self, you today are no more answering the question of existence. You're not doing what you're doing to make money. You're not doing what you're doing today to exist. It's not about roti, kapda, makan anymore. But go back 2 generations of your own parents and grandparents. For them, going to work meant that if I don't work, I'll not survive. So for them, work ethic, even for a leader who they considered inspirational, was somebody who had a lot of money, who was rich, who had industry, who was employing millions and millions of people. But with passing generation, today's generation, all of you would respect a leader not just because they're rich. You would respect a leader because they're making a big impact to the way the world works, either in terms of sustainability or in terms of equity or in terms of making the earth a better place to live in, empowerment of the weaker segments. It could be any of those, but it has to be a cause which is much larger. So I think it all boils down to that today, that as an organization, you could be a startup, you could be somebody who's just starting now, literally. And Elon Musk may look like, why is Viraj talking about Elon Musk? I'm only a startup. But I say that start a startup with an Elon Musk mentality. Whatever you're doing, let it have a huge cause attached to it, a cause much larger than commerce. It should be very clear that what you're doing today is for the larger good of the species. And you will see that the moment that cause stands out more than commerce, you'll have a lot of potential employees who would come and associate with you. So how do you attract the right talent to come and work with you? The answer to that is that do not start a company, start a community. Do not build a team, build a tribe. And a tribe and community don't work for commerce. A tribe and community work for passion, work for a large cause, work for making a difference. So don't start startup businesses, start startup communities.
Indeed, sir. and at TCI as well, we have the best team. I should say that we have been blessed by the universe to have such people who are working tirelessly for the success of all the events that we organize. And they have been working till 4 a.m. in the morning, and even today, talking about today as well. So we have our last session scheduled at 10 p.m. So 13-hour working continuously, it is real difficult, but we have been blessed with the best team. And I would take this as an opportunity to thank each and every person in our team. Thank you so much to stand with us, to help us, and yes, we're gonna rock it.
As you mentioned about like work ethics, I would like I've been in misconception about business responsibilities and business ethics. Would you like to elaborate some difference upon that?
Very good question, Kashish. That's one question I've never asked, I've never been asked, or I've never had to answer before. But what a good question. I never thought of it. So you're saying, what's the difference between ethic and responsibility? And I'm saying that let's not just think of it from the point of view of a company, let's also think of it from the point of view of an individual. I think your responsibility as an individual could be to earn money, for example. You could maybe have people at home that you want to take care of. You're the only earning member of the family. So that's your responsibility, that you have to earn money. Ethic would mean how you earn that money. Will you peddle drugs, or will you do it in a manner that it is, within the realms of the rules and regulations of the land? That is ethic. So we all have responsibilities that we need to fulfill, but our ability to fulfill those responsibilities by being ethical, ethical being, not illegal, for example, that then is the big difference. So even for a company, I think then the difference would be that your responsibility towards your shareholders could be to show a annual profit. Your responsibility could be to ensure that your employees get paid, but your ethic would be how you go about it. So for example, the sustainability agenda, that are you cutting trees, but you're making up for those carbon credits also by planting enough number of trees. That for me would not fall within responsibility, but would fall within ethic. You know what I mean? Your responsibility is towards the shareholder, but your ethic is towards the land, the community, the planet.
Thanks to the internet, that the inventory is unlimited. We have seen brands do storytelling, which is super long. And the thing is that storytelling is such a big concept these days. Even at TCR, we have a why we started an organization. And surely it's all super entertaining. But there are times that customers literally don't know what the organization is selling. And that seems to be a problem. So, do you think that organizations need to strike a balance between uh, selling and also uh, telling us a beautiful story? And also, do you think that marketers these days are a bit too carried away with storytelling? Because, for example, let's take sustainability, which is a real important and a famous concept these days. So, do you think that all these company goodwills are somewhere or the other taking away the attention of public from what actually the company is selling?
Yes and no, Isha. Yes and no. And I'll tell you what I mean. What I mean is that, see, if all you have is a story, you remember, it always boils down to good product plus good marketing. And it's such a simple concept, but think about it, that every action of yours as an enterprise, as a startup, as a business, as an entrepreneur, you can boil it down to good product and good marketing. And the moment you think that all you're doing is good marketing but not concentrating on the product, then of course it's wrong in any case. Yeah, not just today, but for times immemorial. So if you're only talking about the why and you're only building the story, but the product is not really being understood or is being articulated or is being seen, then in any case it's not good marketing. So it has to be a balance of the story and the product. But I think today there is merit in the story taking a bigger share of the attention than the product, because product today can very easily be replicated. To most products today, especially if those products are services, it's very easy to create a service. Today, all you need for most services is a bunch of apps an internet connection, and a laptop. So the barrier to entry of creating a product and putting it out there is very, very, low. There is hardly any barrier to entry today. So which means that you cannot stand differentiated basis of product. I could consume a barista coffee and be very happy with it. You could be consuming Starbucks and be very happy with it. And there comes the blue tokai, which tells you the story of being a small batch coffee, of being a small entrepreneur whose main aim is not commerce, but helping the coffee farmer also get a bigger return on their crop, and giving you a coffee which is organic, and giving you a coffee which has more flavors from India than flavors from anywhere else in the world. It's still coffee, it's still a product, right? But you have a fan base which will say, if I have to have coffee, it has to be Starbucks. Then you have a fan base which says, well, listen, I'm very patriotic, I'm all about India. And there's an Indian startup which has got a beautiful story. It's called Blue Tokai, and it's very sexy too. They package it very nicely, they're very flavorful, and they have a great story. So I'm a Blue Tokai fan. And that's where the story kicks in. That the big differentiator today is not the product, it is why you do what you do. And the why better be going out there very often. But if it's only the why, what's going to happen is that somebody will buy into the Blue Tokai story, then go to a Blue Tokai outlet, and the experience they have at the outlet is pathetic. Because there's a long line and there's a long queue of people waiting, and the guy at the counter or the girl at the counter is not even giving you a smile. And when you taste the first sip of the coffee, you're like, this coffee is crap. Then the story is useless, right? So maybe the story is what leads your customer to you, but then the product has to take over. Then your honesty, your transparency, your authenticity needs to take over. Because otherwise, it will not be a story that will stand for long.
Nowadays, sustainable development is the main focus area, and why not? It is extremely important as well. So, how do you think building sustainable relationships that brings people and brands closer can be a boon in constructing a brand?
I think, Isha, it's if you would realize that I'm probably centering around the same themes again and again, but I think those themes are the key themes of the day, which means that if you look at it, what finally makes a brand, not just today, but I'm saying even when you look at brands like GE, which have been around for 100 plus years, or even in India, brands like Tata, which have been around for that many years. What truly makes a brand durable, if you were to look at the durability of a brand, or actually for that matter, the sustainability of a brand, I think its ability to be relevant to stakeholders, internal as well as external, at a level which is beyond transaction, is what makes a brand sustainable and durable. I'll tell you what I mean by that. You pick up TCS as a Tata Group company, and you look at 5 other companies from the same genre. So TCS is largely ITES. So let's say Accenture, Cognizant, IBM, those are all competitors in one capacity or the other to TCS. Look at the top 100 employees of TCS and look at their salaries, and you would realize that they earn much lesser than the same apple-to-apple comparison in Cognizant, Accenture, or one of the other companies. Try and get a TCS top 100 employee to move from TCS to Accenture at even 3 times higher the salary. They'll simply not move. There are only 5% people who ever leave Tata for a higher salary and go and work for anybody else. Because they're not working with Tatas for transaction. They're working with Tatas for a much higher value. And the value also then goes and extends to their families. When you work with the Tatas, you don't just work as an individual with them. Your whole family, in a way, works with them. If you walk into Jamshedpur, there are generations of people who work for Tatas. So when you're able to make your value system as a brand so honest, so giving, so so about human beings being taken care of, that even your ex-employees hold you in high regard. You could have left the company for whatever reasons. Maybe you have to migrate to Canada because your entire family migrated to Canada, and in Canada, Tata could not find you a job. So now you're working for somebody else. But when somebody asks you, which is the best company you've ever worked with, if the first name that comes to your mind is Tata's, while you worked with them 20 years ago, now that is what will make a company durable and sustainable. So as a company, I could be a startup today. I could have 5 people working with me, and there could be out of those 5, one person who, for whatever reasons, has to go. But even once they are gone, if they speak highly of you, there is no better way of sustaining the company than that. So both your internal as well as your external customer and your vendor, if all of these people speak highly of you, then you know you're creating something durable. So if you ask me what is true sustainability, it is your ability to make a human to human connection. So as long as that connection, a lot of people keep asking me that, what do you suggest for a company like mine? I'm a B2C company or I'm a B2B company. I say, irrespective of whether you're a B2C company, a B2B company, or a B2B2C company, you better be H to H. So long as you can make that heart to heart or human to human connection, you will sustain.
So, sir, this question is out of my curiosity. There's this new concept of holocracy, which is rising a lot these days. And holocracy is a system for managing a company where there's no assigned roles. And employees have the flexibility to take on various tasks and move freely between teams. We all know that nobody really wants to be managed. A manager is for the management in an organization and not for the management of an employee. So what is your take on it? And also, how leadership can be inculcated in the employees, especially in a new organization?
It's a new concept to me. I'd never heard of this. Holocracy, you said, yeah. Interesting. I've heard of another concept which was called sociocracy, which means that even if 5 people are doing a brainstorming together for a decision to be made, that decision will not be made purely basis democracy, which would mean, that 3 out of 5 people, if there is majority vote, you win, or that idea wins. In a democracy, when you're choosing a leader, you don't ever look for 100% vote. You look for majority vote, right? So sociocracy goes one step further. It says majority vote will not make you win. If there are 5 people brainstorming, all 5 have to align. Until the time that alignment is not reached, we'll keep discussing. Now, I find that concept very idiotic because who has that kind of time, right? So I say often a time, a lot of these principles are very good to have as philosophy, are very good to have as emotion, but that philosophy and emotion has to become function, and function has to be more logical. So which means that you may not be able to 101% follow through on that philosophy, but you will come up with a blended and a hybrid form of it, which still works in function, right? So which for me would mean that you may not, when you become a 5,000 people company and you're no more a 50 or a 500 people company, then maybe concepts like sociocracy or concepts like bureaucracy may not apply to a 5,000 people company because you need structure. You need quicker and faster decision making. You would need to have hierarchy. I come across a lot of companies that say we are flat structured, right? But the fact of the matter is there's no company that is flat structured. Every company is a pyramid. So which means there needs to come a time when, the CEO or the founder of the company, rather than talking to 5,000 people, because you say, hey, listen, everybody's a leader. But then as the owner of the company, you have time to talk to 5,000 people. So which means you need 50 people who you talk to, and the remaining 4,550 people talk to those 50 people. So as the organization grows bigger, what you're talking about may not apply in function, but may apply in philosophy. And so long as it continues to apply in philosophy, it is still good. Now, to answer your question a little more directly, that how do you ensure that everybody works like a leader? I say stop hiring people who say that I show ownership or I'm very responsible. So I keep saying that there are 3 levels to a person. Level 1 is that I'm responsible, which means that if I tell you to do something, you will do it, which shows responsibility. Level 2 is I have ownership. which means I don't need to tell you to do something. It comes from within. That's ownership. That nobody has to tell me to reach office on time. I just am somebody who takes ownership of reaching office on time. It comes from within. But the highest form of ownership is entrepreneurship. It's not even leadership. An entrepreneur has no choice but to come on time. So hire people who show the quality that they will find. They will not come back and tell you, listen, today I got late, I feel very bad about it. And you'll say, oh, that shows ownership. I say, you got to find a way that you're never late. The train is not working, public transport is not working, my cab did not show up on time, my car broke down. I don't care a flying, you know what, just reach. And that for me is the person I want to work with. So I don't want to work with somebody who shows ownership or who shows leadership. Today I want to work with somebody who shows entrepreneurship. And an entrepreneur has an entrepreneurial objective in mind. So I don't mind sharing my profit with you, but make sure that you come to me with solutions and not problems. So hire people who have solutions. Everybody has problems.
Surely, sir, and I totally believe that if we wait for everyone to reach on one particular conclusion, there it would need lots and lots of time and lots of convincing. So I totally believe that in the meanwhile the opportunity might be lost. So yeah, it's indeed a pleasure for me to have this conversation with you, sir, and I'll take this opportunity. There are students who are into management and business and other related fields. In this era, there are lots and lots of specialization, lots and lots of subjects, which obviously hold their own importance in their related fields. But it is real difficult for us students to choose that one single specialization that is going to be really helpful in our higher studies and future endeavors, our career as well. So how do you suggest that students should select or choose that one specialization for themselves?
I say that we should all have filters. And let's say you have 3 filters. And if, as long as that specialization that you're hoping to choose meets 2 out of these 3 filters, you should go ahead and choose it. For me, filter number 1 is that you're somebody who already knows your why, you already know what you're passionate about, and nothing else matters. So if you see a specialization that meets your why, you would go ahead and do it. Which means, for example, marketing by itself is a specialization that is no more a differentiator. Let's say if I'm doing an MBA in marketing, that's no more a differentiator. But if marketing is what gets me very excited, then I wouldn't care if it is differentiated or not. I'll still go ahead and do it because it's my why. I know that I'm going to be amongst the top 5 advertisers in the world. I'm going to be the next David Ogilvy. If I am going to be the next David Ogilvy, then I might as well do marketing, right? So that for me is filter number 1, your why. But there are many people who still don't know their why, and that's all right. Why is something which does not show up at times for many, many years. So don't be worried about it. Then the number 2 thing, the filters to look out for is that what are going to be the top 5 careers in the world in the next 10 years. Then you might as well play on opportunity, right? Which means that sustainability, for example, is a very big agenda for every company. And just to let you know, most big companies, Fortune 500s, for example, I was talking to people at Nestle a few days ago, and Nestle is amongst those companies. There is a department called Environment, Health and Safety, EHS. So sustainability used to be a part of EHS till 2019. In 2020, they made sustainability a completely different department, function, team within Nestle, because it's just such a big deal today that you cannot house it within another department. It has to be called out as sustainability. But fact of the matter is that you do not have enough sustainability professionals in the world right now. So over the next 10 years, a specialization, for example, in sustainability will hold you in good stead. A specialization in robotics, a specialization in artificial intelligence, a specialization in insights. That's another big one, insights. Everybody's talking about data, but data is useless. Insights from that data is what's going to be the big deal. So analytics and insights is becoming a huge field for a management professional to specialize in. So then the second thing, the second filter is, are you seeing an opportunity, a trend, which over the next 10 years will keep you differentiated? And the final filter for me, is how I went about deciding on my specialization. That there are many fields in the world that could be great opportunity. I don't know my why. I know that there is opportunity here. But then the main question is, am I cut out for it? Do I have an intrinsic talent for it? Because if I have to do maths, I'll die. You know what I mean? Maths is my weak area, but I know what my strengths are. My strength is communication, my strength is packaging. So there may be great opportunity in statistics or in becoming a CA, but I would never go and become a statistician or a CA because maths does not appeal to me. Whereas there is something else that, I know that I'm better at. For example, like I said, communication. So for me, then that's the final filter. Is this something that I'm going to be able to do without getting too stressed? Because if I just generally enjoy it, even if it is not my why, I will still find ways of, waking up and being happy. So for me, that then becomes the final filter. That is this something which is going to make me tense and anxious, or is this something I'm going to enjoy doing? So those are my three filters. Coming at it again, just to sum it up for all of us here. Filter number one is why. I would do something which is my why. If I don't know my why, then filter number two is that is there a great opportunity there, right? Filter number three is okay, yeah, there is great opportunity there, but will you be able to do it? Will you be able to enjoy doing it, or will it make you anxious? So something that meets two out of these three criteria for me is the way to go about choosing a specialization.
Thank you so much, sir. This is going to help me a lot, and I can say that this is going to help lots and lots of students who will be watching us on the YouTube channel of the Conflux Rivista. So, as we come to the end of the session, it is an honor for me, Kashish, and the entire TCR team to propose a vote of thanks. Thank you, sir. We are literally honored to have you here. I enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I hope the feeling is neutral.
Absolutely mutual. I loved interacting with all of you. Esha, Kashish, Paki, thank you so much for this opportunity and all the very best for this beautiful platform that you've created. I think what you're doing is a worthy cause. So, like Elon Musk rates on number one for the cause, I rate you very high also. It's lovely to see all of you doing what you're doing. Keep at it. All the very best.